Hey guys, Mark here again. Hey, I had some questions about controllers and the Mega G Plus cars and running other cars with the 120 ohm controllers, like this little guy that comes with your newer set. So I thought I would do a little video and show you guys how this controller is okay for the Mega G Plus cars, but when you try to use it to control different cars, like anything with a lower ohm, like a Viper car or a Bulldog or even an older AFX car, it just really doesn't control the car very well. So I went ahead and hooked up an old AFX terminal track. I broke out a little older power supply that I had spliced into a AFX power terminal. So you can see here, holding this controller, it moves the car fairly smoothly, consistently through the range of the controller. Now, let's try and run. This is a 6 ohm Bulldog chassis with the same controller. You can see I'm almost 3/4 of the way, and it's just starting to make the car go, and it's very erratic. It's very hard to control. As soon as you squeeze the controller a little further, the car starts going super fast. It's real jerky. So, not a good situation. And trying to control a even lower, like a 3 ohm motor, again, this thing's going to take off like a rocket once it reaches a certain point. I don't even want to do it because I did it before and the car went flying and crashed. So, I also have an older Aurora controller that came with my Super International set, which came with Super G Plus cars. Now I think this is around a 50 or 60 ohm controller. So I'm going to go ahead and, sorry about the shaky camera and my finger in the lens because I'm holding it. Going to go ahead and plug in this other older controller, and again, I'll run a older Super G Plus type car, and you can see it's a better match. It runs the car fairly well, smoothly, compared to trying to use the 120 ohm controller. So you definitely want a lower ohm controller, the lower the ohms of the motor that you have in your car. So let's see what happens if we try to run this higher ohms Mega G Plus car with this lower ohm. So you barely touch the trigger and it'll take off. So it's actually the opposite end. It's too sensitive. So just be aware, those of you out there with just new to the hobby, and you're starting to think about getting some other cars other than the Mega G Plus cars, you're going to need to get some different controllers. You're not going to have a good experience running anything other than the Mega G Plus cars with those 120 ohm controllers. Now I use these DeFalco 505 controllers. Actually, that one I added braking to, but they normally have just one sensitivity knob. And this lets you pretty much run any car by adjusting that sensitivity knob until you're comfortable with how the trigger responds to the car. And these are about 90 bucks. These are good if you're going to run stock track and don't plan on using any braking, then those are a decent controller. If you think you're going to maybe wire your track like I ended up doing and wired it for braking, I kind of regret buying those 505 controllers because they don't have braking. So I did actually add braking. I worked with Jim DeFalco, and he sent me the little kit to actually add braking to this 505 controller. So it can be done. It was about $30 to add the braking. But if you are going to use the DeFalco controller, you will have to, it comes with alligator clips, so you'll have to cut those clips off and, solder in a or not solder, if you could solder if you want, but you'll have to splice in an AFX terminal so you can plug it into your stock AFX track. But this controller, it's another world comparing the stock little toy controller to a much better. I can't even tell you, when I just started using this again, I don't know how I used this controller for so many years. It was pretty bad experience once you get used to using a decent controller. And there are a lot of good controllers. I just happened to pick these up because they were fairly reasonably priced, and I wasn't planning on doing any braking. I didn't think I would need any fancy high-end controllers. So, this is at the low end of the DeFalco controller range. And if you're just playing around like I do in your garage, it's a more than adequate controller. And it, with that sensitivity knob, it lets you adjust for just about any car. I'm going to go ahead and pause the camera for a second and set things back up so I could use the DeFalco controller. All right, so we're back, and I have the track back, and I have Mega G Plus car on, and you can see how I have the sensitivity set. I think around 3 is a good setting, just under 3 for this car. But it's so much smoother with this controller compared to the stock controller. And then I can go ahead and take a 6 ohm motored car and turn the sensitivity up a little bit, and again it controls the car real nice. So yeah, definitely worth the money if you're really gonna get into the hobby more and start playing around with different types of chassis and different ohm motors. You're definitely going to want to think about at some point upgrading to a controller that will let you control different cars, or you can go with a couple of different controllers if you want to go that route. But I recommend just getting a variable controller, and it can control all your cars for you. Yeah. That's it. Thanks for checking out the video. Let me know what you guys think, or if you have any questions. See you guys soon.